It's been a year since Caryn's funeral. Turns out, that a year is a long time. It's also true that a year is a short time. How is it possible that Caryn is gone so long? I just saw her laughing and happy. I just saw her attached to those many hideous tubes. She just gave me a big hug. But this is not a time for crying. This evening is a time for celebration. Celebrating Caryn's life, her accomplishments, her personality, her being. It's not a time for crying. You may have to remind me about that from time to time. This is a time for Hakaras HaTov, for recognizing and appreciating and thanking. First, Hakaras HaTov, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who gave us Caryn, a treasure incomparable. It took us a while to really realize who and what she was, and we're still finding out more now. It's Hakaras HaTov to the many individuals and groups of people. It's Hakaras HaTov to our family, who loved and nurtured and appreciated Caryn throughout her life. Many of them are here, others are far away, especially her siblings, Avi and Aviva in Eretz Yisrael, and more recently Rivki, who is fortunately able to come tonight. They were all so proud of Caryn and what she was able to do. Hakaras HaTov for our community, West Hempstead, our shul, and our rabbis. I'll take the liberty of reading a paragraph that was delivered by Avi a few months ago on a Shabbos upstairs. I'll quote, "The last time," he says, "I stood at this podium was about 4 months ago for Caryn's Levaya. Caryn was an ambassador for the community of individuals with special needs. She represented people with intellectual disabilities and with grace and with pride. Her happiness, positive energy, and comfort with herself, with her abilities and her disabilities, opened doors in communities, in schools and camps around the Jewish community. There is no doubt that the incredible acceptance, love, and support that she felt in the young Israel of West Hempstead and in the homes of countless families and friends in this unique community played an enormous role in helping her develop that confidence that was the basis for her magic." Close quote. I think he said it better than I could have said it. Hakaras HaTov to Yachad and to the OU. There is no way that we can thank Yachad as an organization and to each of its staff, including Jeff Lichtman, the director, who is here tonight and will address us shortly, Chana Zweida, who started the organization, and so many, many individuals who make up the staff presently and in the past. They gave Caryn the opportunity to grow at the Blossom and to help change the world's view of and expectations regarding people with special needs. The many Shabbatons, family Shabbatons, trips, workshops, summer activities, camps, but the best was the job. Caryn worked at the OU office, at the Yachad office in Manhattan for many years. What do you think it meant to Caryn that she could bring home a check? What do you think it meant for Caryn when a rabbi would approach her and say, "Caryn, you know, we're a little bit behind. Could you help us with a mail?" It was Gan Eden. Hakaras HaTov for the Beis Ezra, Ohel Beis Ezra, who gave Caryn a home for about 20 years. A loving, caring home in every sense of the word. Counselors, resident managers, nurses, social workers, and fellow residents, all a true family, caring for Caryn, literally and figuratively, for decades. Caryn would sometimes prefer to stay in the residence rather than to come home. Never could quite understand that. And Hakaras HaTov for the nursing home even, the townhouse out here in Hempstead Turnpike, who did their very best to care for Caryn during the last months, which was a very tough time for her all. Hakras HaTov was Caryn's specialty. She appreciated everything that people did for her, and she showed it with a smile and usually with a hug. Nesiva Sholem says that Hakras HaTov is not to be considered a mitzvah. It's not one of the 613 commandments. It's a midah. It's a character trait. What's the difference? I think a mitzvah is something that we do, something that we have to do. But it's something extrinsic. It's something outside of ourselves. A midah is part of ourselves. It's part of our personality. A mitzvah has parameters. Sometimes I don't do it. Sometimes I have to wait. Sometimes I put it off for some other reason. A midah is always. It's constant. It's forever. Hakras HaTov is always. We never had to teach Caryn to appreciate the good things that people did for her. She understood that on her own, and she showed us how. Caryn was friends with everyone, and everyone was her friend. She had work friends, and she had play friends, and she had train friends, and she even had a conductor on the Long Island Railroad as a friend. One day, when she got off at Lynbrook, she misplaced her wallet. She came down partly and then ran back up. And the conductor saw that she was in distress. She opened the doors, stopped the train, got off, walked down the steps with Caryn to help her find the wallet. As everybody knows, the Long Island Railroad waits for no man. They wait for you. So now it's time to hear from some special people who each of whom had a very special relationship with Caryn over the years. First, I'd like to introduce Rabbi Kelemer, Morid Asra of Young Israel and our community.
Lester, your words were so moving. Bringing back so many recollections, I'm sure to everyone present. I would like to offer a brief thought, a Torah thought, memory of Caryn. Maybe share some recollections that my wife and I were discussing today. We have a section of the davening called Nefilas Apayim, translated as the lowering of the face. It's a little bit of a mistranslation. It means that you fall into a kind of sadness after you retreat from the palace of the King of the Almighty. Nefilas Apayim. The Nefilas Apayim is normally done on the left hand, unless you have the tefillin on. Those who wear tefillin on the right hand, as the lefties, would do Nefilas Apayim, would fall upon their left hand. And the reason for that is given by the post-Talmudic commentaries, the Gaonim, the period between the 16th and 12th century. And Rav Hai Gaon says that the reason is because to fall on your left hand is the way royalty does so. Royalty always falls on the left. He noticed in the society in which he lived, Persian society, you don't fall on the right hand. That was his cryptic comment. And another period of the Gaonite, one of the great rabbis, Rabbi Yehuda Kelemer, says you only fall on your left hand because you mino techapkeni, because you don't want to sever yourself from the Almighty. And we're told in the Song of Songs, Shir Hashirim, that the Almighty embraces us with His right. So you don't want to fall on your right to sever that embrace, only on your left hand. What is being said over here is that the moments of disillusionment and sadness in life, moments of depression, can potentially overwhelm us. You begin the Tachnun, you begin the Nefilas Apayim, and then you begin to think of all the challenges and all of the tzaras and all the difficulties that one individually or collectively faces as Am Yisrael, and you can fall clearly into a state of paralysis. And when you're immobilized, you can't move. So we do everything possible to avoid that. Indeed, I've often said that one of the happiest moments for Jews who daven in the morning, in the weekday mornings, is when they're free of Tachanun through a Yom Tov or a special day. Such a machaya, because we don't want to be enveloped by that which hurts us, which gives us pain. The message of the royalty of one who falls Tachanun, the message of one who says that I don't want to sever the embrace of the Almighty, is a message that there's always hope. There's always something in life that is redeeming. There is always a world around us, and if we begin to appreciate, that world will uplift us. So we do everything possible to minimize the Nefilas Apayim, so that it's a brief encounter, and then we can stand up and say, Uvah L'Tzion Goel, that there will be a Redeemer, there will be a time of redemption, because even when we're suffused with sadness, when challenged, we can still feel that the Almighty has not abandoned us. Caryn knew how to rise above challenges. She knew how to take any moment of sadness, and there were moments. You wouldn't notice it. You wouldn't know that. Because life was exciting around Caryn. Life was uplifting around Caryn. There was joy, there was laughter, there was happiness. What was her motto? What was her motto in life? Do you remember? I asked everyone assembled. She would often say, I can do it. I can do it. Our first encounter, myself and Rochi, our first encounter with Caryn was a Sheva Brachas, if we remember correctly, by Shulamis at the home of Lester and Lorraine. And I remember Shulama, the Sheva Brachas, and many different people spoke, including myself. I thought that I had what to offer. And then all of a sudden, Caryn stood up and said, I also want to speak. And she did. She was far better than any rabbi that was present. And it was so beautiful, every word, so spontaneous. We need to live spontaneously. We need to live in a world in which we can say, I know I'm dating myself, oh, what a beautiful morning, oh, what a beautiful day. We need to say that. And Caryn made every morning beautiful. She did so. My second encounter, another encounter with Caryn was years later. I saw her in the residence, and she ran over to me, and she hugged me. And then she said, Rabbi, I'm allowed to do it. She gave the effort. And so, from the distance, I want to say to Caryn, thank you. Thank you for being the kind of young woman that you were. Thank you for taking us out of the Nefilas Apayim. Thank you for rising from a world that can easily be a world of sadness and convert it into a world of joy. If we can do that, then we will carry on our legacy, and we will give her nachas from a distance. That's the kind of nachas she gave us. That's the kind of nachas we will give her. Yehi Zechor Baruch.